Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. Great to have you here with me. Yes, as usual, we're talking about the tropics. We actually have two areas of development that we're watching over the next several days. One area is across the central and western Caribbean, and the other is just north and around the Caribbean islands here. We're going to be taking a look at what could become potentially two tropical systems. Let's get into it. And here we go, starting off with the European model, and I'll show you the GFS momentarily here. So this is the area we're going to be watching for the most significant development, at least over the next 5 to 7 days. We're watching an area, let's just stop it right here. So as we start right into the southern Caribbean, this area got hung up over South America here pretty readily the last several days. Well, it's actually on the move now, and we expect it to continue towards the west-northwest. A European model showing a broad area of low pressure forming right around the 2nd or the 3rd of November here. And as you can see, we head out in time, that continues towards the northwest with slow development. So now we're looking at the potential for especially Central America, the Yucatan, and maybe the Gulf. Look at where this area of high pressure is. Yes, it is a blocking high. So far, it's protecting Florida and much of the southeast coast, but it remains to be seen whether this will continue, because at this point, by the 5th and the 6th, you see what's happening too. We're just continuing with tremendous rainfall totals on both sides of this system: Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, and the Yucatan Peninsula, all the way up to Cancun. Unfortunately, if you have a Cancun vacation, it's just going to continue to have problems here with the rainfall amount. So here it is, November 5th. Let's just back it up there into the 6th. Now, we really start to see some development here showing up on our European model. So this is right around the western tip of Cuba. There's Cancun right over here. There's the Florida Keys. This is going to be really close for many people. And as you can see, that puts Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and Cuba here on the eastern side. Even the southern and southwestern Bahamas here will be getting some torrential rain out of this. And look what starts to happen. That low pressure is right around Cancun. It's between the western tip of Cuba and Cancun. Here it is, November 7th. And then you start to see it emerge into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the one good thing about this model run is high pressure starting to build back in here to the southeastern United States. This is not necessarily good for Mexico, but it may be good for the north central Gulf Coast here, Florida, these areas, because you can see by the time we get to November 8th here into November 9th, it's going to be really close. You still should be watching this if you're along the Gulf Coast, but here we are by November 10th. It's slowly moving towards the west, and this trough, we'll have to see what it does with this system, because normally troughs would pick this system up and move it towards the north, which of course would be bad for the Gulf Coast. But it all depends on timing, and it looks like this trough on this run is going to outrun this system, and then the system kind of just gets stuck here across the western Gulf. All right, so here is the GFS model as we're taking a look at our system. Here it is down here along the northwestern part of the South American coastline here. And let me just zoom out here. You can see the high pressure up here over eastern North America. And as we continue in time here through the 3rd into the 4th of November, here's what the GFS is doing. It's continuing to push a lot of the moisture further eastward here, you know, over towards Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Still has some kind of circulation over here towards the western and the central Caribbean. And there it is. It's really starting to take effect there. So let me just back that up. There it is towards Jamaica on November 4th. You see that area of low pressure, tremendous moisture just east of that. And as we continue to push this in time, there it is, our latest run of the GFS coming more in line with the European model, starting to bring it towards the northwestern part of the Caribbean here, intensifying it. There it is into the parts of the south central Gulf of Mexico. GFS is actually bringing some moisture with it all the way to the Florida Peninsula here, especially central Florida. And as we continue in time, that area of low pressure emerges right into the central Gulf as a very broad area of low pressure. In our last couple frames here of our GFS model, you can see we just kind of start stalling this system here across the central Gulf, because what happens here on the GFS is this trough lags to the west. Here's our system. It does start to encounter dry air to the west here, and this high pressure across the southeast kind of weakens a bit. So steering currents become extremely weak here as depicted by both the European and the GFS models. Flipping over to our second system here, I wanted to show you here on the European run. This system is kind of on the tail end of what's left of a remnant frontal boundary here, a trough. So as we head through the second into the third, there is some small chances of development here. We're talking about a 10% chance on average here, 10 to 20%. But as we see here, we go into the fourth, into the fifth, you can see what's happening. A lot of this moisture is outrunning this storm to the west, and it's kind of getting caught up in our main system here across the central and western Caribbean. But it is a system that we got to watch here, you know, from Puerto Rico all the way up to the Dominican Republic and over towards the Turks and Caicos. At this point, though, I just don't see any chances for any significant development at this time. But look at that. We get towards November 10th. Look what's coming through the Lesser Antilles here. This may be something to watch. I know it's a bit far out here. Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, Martinique, Guadeloupe, all the way up to the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico here. You got to watch this. It's just the Caribbean is going to be extreme pressure here over the next month or two. I really wanted to show you this too, just scrolling through here. You can see there is just like continuous rain, even after these systems pass. You know, this system starts to emerge into the Gulf. Look at the Caribbean here. We're just socked in with tremendous moisture. I wanted to show you the system behind it here on the GFS. Here it is, trying to develop here through November 1st and 2nd. Lots of moisture just out over the ocean here. Some around Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic as well. So we'll have some heavy rain from the Virgin Islands over to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. And here it is towards the Turks and Caicos towards November 3rd. So this may be something we need to watch as well, more or less so, though, than the area across the West Central Caribbean. And there it is. It almost seems like at this point, the GFS is combining both systems into two here and emerging it towards the Gulf of Mexico. So that should be something very interesting to watch. Another thing I wanted to watch out here with the GFS is another big area, tropical wave, moving through the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and look at this massive wave here. This is November 7th. As we continue to go out here in time, you can see we're going to be looking at our last couple frames here. Quite a bit in the way of tropical action lining up to get here into the Caribbean. And before we continue with more weather coverage here, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. So thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our dry air and moist air mid-layer analysis here. So let's put this into motion here. We got our big tropical moisture plume in these two areas. Just take a look here. Actually, let's just get my red pencil here. There we go. So the southwestern Caribbean here, and then the northeastern Caribbean. So just putting this into motion, you can see, yeah, there's two areas, obviously two separate areas. The GFS continuing to show this pretty nicely until about November 5th. It's like the GFS combines both areas now. So, but it eventually makes it into the same location as the Euro. And this is, let's see, let's get that out of the way. This has been happening for quite a while here on the model runs. So we head through November 7th into the 8th. Look at the GFS bringing it right up across the central part of the Gulf. And then another storm potential here following right on its heels. But we definitely got a lot of tropical moisture here to work with across the Caribbean. All right, so for our European run here for mid-layer dry air analysis, you can see as we could progress into the weekend here, here it is. The European is more bent on one area to contend with here. Here's the central and western Caribbean. And as we continue in time here into Thursday, November 7th, there it is emerging into the central Gulf here. And lots of dry air to the east. This may actually benefit Florida. When it comes to the storm, I still think many areas in the Gulf should be watching this closely. And then we get another system behind it here, a big moisture surge occurring. And then you start to see the system, our first main system, starting to stall here in some very dry air. So this could actually make it so it doesn't even reach Texas. So that's a development we'll have to keep a really close eye on. But look what's starting to develop down here around November 10th and another area coming through the Lesser Antilles. Our upper level wind shear here across the Caribbean, the Gulf, you can see through Saturday into Sunday. Yeah, there's basically no wind shear. Even in the Gulf, the wind shear lifts way up to the north here over North America. So this is going to become very hospitable here for a system to develop along with these sea surface temperatures and low to virtually no wind shear. Over here for our other system, there's more wind shear to contend with. That's why I'm a little less impressed with that. But as we continue to go out in time, you can see here that system moving towards the southern Gulf, and it still has a pretty good window of development here until it gets to about November 10th here. It does start to get entrained into this southern section of increased vertical wind shear. Sea surface temperatures are another concern here. The Caribbean and the Western MDR remain extremely warm. We're talking about anywhere from 2 to as much as 5 degrees Celsius above average. Even here into the Gulf, it's still a bit hospitable if this storm were to move into the Gulf. And our tropical rainfall totals here across Central America, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Bahamas here, all these areas. Look at this. As we get into next week, this is where, you're going to see showers in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Nicaragua, all the way up to Honduras, Belize here. I know I have a lot of viewers in these areas. So here it is. We have a lot of rainfall moving right up through this area, especially as we head into the weekend. But look at next week. This is where we could see the bullseye. Right up through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, we could be looking at 150 millimeters on average here. That's going to get you up towards that 4.5, close to as much as 8 inches in some of these areas. Look at Central America filling in as well with eclipsing more than 100 millimeters. I think some of these areas could see higher than 150 millimeters, getting you up towards the 4 to 6 inch range. So the Eastern Caribbean here, let's see. Yeah, this next system we'll be watching very closely from Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands over the next weekend here into next week. That is going to help add to tremendous rainfall totals here. In the yellow, 100 to 150 millimeters. Some areas right around Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Virgin Islands could see as high as 150, maybe isolated 200 millimeter totals. That could get us up towards that 4, 6, maybe 7. Some areas close to 8 inches of rain. Look at down here, Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, this is a little drier, but I still think you could see about 70 to 80, maybe 90 millimeters. So watch out. There's some wet times ahead here, lots of showers and storms moving in. You should see upwards of close to 2, maybe 3 inches of rain. And if you look over here towards the Bahamas, look, especially the southeastern Bahamas near the Turks and Caicos, I think you could easily see 100 millimeters here, up towards 3 to 4 inches. So the Western Pacific here, we have Tropical Storm Kong-rey here, made some very devastating landfall here to Taiwan. That's going to continue towards the northeast here, up along the China coastline here, eastern China, and up towards Shanghai here towards Friday here. So heavy rain and wind moving up towards the Korean Peninsula, although Seoul remains extremely dry. Actually needs some rain up there, but look at this. Unfortunately, the Japanese islands get targeted by what's going to be left of this. It will be a tropical storm heading into the Japanese islands. Thankfully, it will be very fast moving, so we'll be out of the picture before long, and then you can start your fall foliage season up here, which should be becoming in full swing over the next several weeks. Now, look at here in the Philippines. We're just going to get inundated with more rain here as we head through the 6th, the 7th, into the 8th. I don't see any chances for any major typhoon outbreaks here, though. Just a lot of moisture hanging out here, but you do notice it's getting very dry here across parts of Southeast Asia. And if we take a look at rainfall here for the Western Pacific, yeah, what's left of Kong-rey here towards Shanghai, over to the south, extreme southern Korean Peninsula, over to the Japan here, central Japan, southern Japan. We could be looking at 100 to as much as 200 millimeters of rainfall here. It will be fast moving, though. That should keep the rainfall totals there between 4 and 7 inches. Could be a lot worse if it was moving a lot slower. But here we go. Yeah, we're going to start to fill it in here from Vietnam to the northern Philippines. I know you don't need the more rain here, but we could be looking at 150, 250 plus millimeters here. Probably another 4 to as much as 8 inches. All right, so our future radar here, look what's happening as we head into overnight, Thursday night into Friday. There will be some showers moving through, some beneficial rain here. All the way down to the Gulf Coast. I know you don't really need the rain too much here. But up in the Northeast, you've been dry as a bone here. Now look at this through 3 a.m. Friday morning. There will be some gusty showers moving through. Some of these may try to get it to the I-95 corridor, but don't hold your breath as it's been so dry. Any place that does get these downpours, though, it will be welcomed. So most areas should remain mostly dry or just some light showers, but look how quickly that just moves out and weakens. So yeah, we're setting up for a very quiet weekend across much of the east as we head towards 6 p.m. Friday. And then as we continue, there may be a little quick lake response up here, but it's not going to last very long. Look at this over here into parts of the Texas Panhandle up to central parts of Kansas. We're going to be looking at this. This is going to be a potential severe weather outbreak as we head through 2 p.m. on Saturday, November 2nd. A few showers down here along the Gulf Coast into Florida and Texas. And there it is into the Northeast. After your little lake response behind that system Friday evening, look what happens. This all just clears out of the picture and high pressure builds in. All right, so I have a few photos here of my fall foliage. It's been slow going with the new file format with the new camera. It's really tough getting used to, but you know what? I just wanted to share just a few photos here. I'll have more in the coming days, obviously, but I got a few here from Greenwood Park in upstate New York. I hit it just right with the beautiful blue sky. Look at all the nice orangish, yellowish, maybe a hint of a red in there, but mostly the oranges, and then you can see the yellows here against that beautiful blue sky. I had a string of very nice days right around that third week of October. I was able to capture a lot of these, so I have to have more coming out in the coming days here. So picking up where our feature radar left off as we continue through your weekend here, the only inclement weather, you're going to get a few showers around Florida with tropical moisture and this next system forming across Colorado here. You can see high pressure across much of the east, though. That's going to continue bringing a nice sunny, kind of a cool weekend, but very fall-like, which is nice. Here we go into November 3rd here. This next system tries to push east, but look what high pressure is really blocking it here. So essentially what we have is another system that will be riding up and over this ridge. The high pressure does try to retreat a little bit, but look at that. It's just keeping the East Coast, especially these areas east, especially east of this line, that are really, really dry right now. So as we continue in time, there's another system that tries to get cranking here across the Mississippi River Valley. Look at that. It does try to make headway towards November 6th here, so you may see some showers breaking out, but it's not going to be enough to dent, the dryness that's been occurring. And then as we continue through the 7th here, all eyes will turn to the Gulf Coast here as we get our next potential tropical system. And look at that. That trough, could this be a big change in the weather pattern coming here? We'll have to see just how far to the east this makes it, and if any tropical moisture from this potential Gulf system gets entrained into it. So our precipitation amounts here on our European models, you can see, look at this, Friday, Saturday, yeah, it just remains really dry back east here. At the central sections up to the Midwest, you do stand the chance of getting some rainfall here over the next week or two. Look at this. Yeah, you're just going to continue to bring down some very heavy rain. Some areas could be looking at 3 to as much as 6+ inches, and then we'll watch the Gulf here. Florida seems to remain mostly dry with a few showers. Look at here into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, just remaining bone dry. One thing to note here, the Ohio Valley, as we get into Wednesday, into Thursday, the 6th, into the 7th, we may get a surge of some moisture up here in the eastern Great Lakes region. Maybe getting upwards of 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, close to an inch in some areas. So we'll take a look at our Canadian weather here. As we continue in time, over the next couple days, you're going to see some showers, some beneficial rain here across southern Ontario and Quebec as we head into your Friday on November 1st here. And that is going to be a quick fading memory into Saturday morning. Just a few showers over towards Newfoundland here. Now look at here, British Columbia, you got this waiting off the coastline here. Look at the Gulf of Alaska, this 970 millibar low. That's going to plow some moisture, as well as another low pressure towards the third. High pressure builds into eastern Canada. And then we get another area of low pressure that rides up and over this blocking ridge to the east here. So we get a little bit of a breakout here on the west coast, and we ramp up the shower activity here across southeast Canada. That's going to bring some beneficial rain here into November 4th, into the 5th. Look at that, a surge of moisture across Ontario and Quebec here, especially eastern and southeastern Ontario. That frontal boundary moves to the east, and we get a few systems behind it. Look what's happening, though. This next Pacific system is going to be tremendous as we head into November 8th. And look at this low bombing up towards Hudson Bay. That's only going to continue as that ridge continues across eastern United States. And that will drop down and bring some showers here to parts of southeastern Canada. But the big West Coast storms are just getting started. And our Canadian rainfall totals here. Wow, look at this. There's going to be two areas I'm going to be watching. Model has backed off a little bit here in southeast Canada. Still looking at, I think, 50 to maybe as close to 90 millimeters here. Rainfall getting up towards about an inch to maybe 3.5 inches. The big story is going to be the West Coast, though. Look at this. Some areas could actually see 150 to maybe as high as 300 millimeters here. We're getting up towards some dangerous levels here. 5 to as much as potentially 10 inches of rainfall. Watch for a lot of mountain snow as well. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
And our temperatures here, look at this. Yeah, there's some cooler air coming for later Friday here, falling through the 50s here into the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, holding on to some 70s up here in the I-95 corridor. Look at that. That's going to be a fading memory Saturday, but you have to admit, look at these temperatures. They are still way above average for this time of year. That's just going to continue. Look at that, 50s and even some 60s, 80s towards the Gulf Coast here as we head into Sunday, November 3rd here. It doesn't actually look too bad. I mean, things could be really cold. We could be talking about snow right now. But look at this, 50s and 60s across parts of the Ohio Valley into parts of the Northeast, 80s along the coast. The West is actually getting colder than the East here. And look at this. We just surged this warmth further north here as we head into Monday, November 4th. We're actually getting to near 70 in Cleveland here and 80s. Look at the 60s all the way into the Northeast here. And it's Tuesday, November 5th here, Election Day. Yeah, look at this. We're getting well into the mid to high 70s here into parts of the Ohio Valley, western New York, western Pennsylvania. And then we head to our last day here, which is Wednesday, November 6th. Yeah, we're still looking pretty warm here in the east. Extended forecast for my hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. And we have a few showers left over Friday from, Thursday night, but winds will be howling as that cold front approaches. We'll make it up to the low to mid 60s. Into Friday night and Saturday, we have much cooler air, struggling to reach 50 on Saturday, but a nice sunny weekend into Sunday as well, a little bit warmer into the mid 50s. And we start to get a little bit more of an active weather pattern with a warm front pushing in on Monday and Tuesday. We'll be highs near 70 on Tuesday. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.